All right. Well, cool. Yeah, I wanted to start out by asking a little bit about your background, because I'm trying to get a sense of what makes you you, and also bridge that into what does it take for someone to stay aligned with their dream from childhood into adulthood. So you talked about heavy sports family, that you played multiple sports, so you were big into that. You had some other interests, but a lot of focus on sports, right? So if you're thinking about what sets people apart as athletes, you were able to, make it to the college level to where you were able to have a college basketball experience as well as high school. What advice do you give to someone who says, I want to play college basketball, and let's say they're in middle school?
Hmm.
What advice do you give them from your experience? What helped you to make it, and what advice would you give them?
Mm. Ooh, I would first tell them make sure it's something that you really, really want because it is going to take a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, um, a lot of time away from your friends, a lot of time, focused on your craft, and just the mental toughness to get through the physical training. And also, the biggest thing I would say that younger people need to focus on is the fact that you need to be coachable. If you cannot be coachable at an early age, you get older and you start getting entitled and you feel like people don't need to coach you and you don't take the feedback and you never get better.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I've seen on my journey is that people that are coachable and work hard sometimes beat talent out because now I can take you and put you to another level. Whereas if you think you're great already and don't want the feedback, you might stay where you're at, or all of a sudden everything might be the coach's fault when it's
Hmm.
really you not trying to adjust.
Okay. So, what do you think makes some kids uncoachable?
Um, in a respectful way, some kids have never in their households have never been told no, have never been asked to do any chores or asked to do anything extra, or sometimes they just because that's their precious child, they don't um, take time to discipline.
Mm,
So sometimes it starts in that way. Sometimes it develops from maybe an ego where they've already been good for a long time and people are telling them how good they are, and now they think that they don't need anybody else because they're that good, they've arrived. um what else? This may seem a little different, but if you can't be a good teammate, sometimes you can't be coachable because maybe your teammate's trying to tell you something that maybe either the coach said or maybe the teammate sees it themselves. And if you can't take that constructive criticism, then that makes you not coachable as well too, because then you're going to start thinking, well, the teammates against me, the coach is against me, everybody's against me, and you start developing a negative train of thought too in that way. Those are
okay.
some of the biggest things I would say I've seen.
Okay. Interesting. So, some of what you said was based in life experience at home in
Hmm.
terms of, our parents conditioning their kids to take constructive criticism and to be disciplined and structured, whether it's chores and, having holding them to certain standards,
Hmm.
not letting them make excuses and things like that. So it sounds like sometimes a lot of things that happen at home bleed over into the sports world when kids come try to play on a team.
Oh, absolutely. I'll say, for example, um, when I told my dad that I was serious about basketball, and when I told him I wanted a Division I scholarship, he did what was necessary to help me get there. Now there were days where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to go to the gym. Oh, I gotta listen to him tell me how I'm doing everything wrong, and I gotta fix this. I gotta run a mile today." Like as a child, you sometimes, of course, go, "Oh my gosh, this is too much."
Right.
But I was fortunate enough to have a father who played Division I basketball, who knew what it took to get there, and who knew what it took once you got there, because the steps of preparation are just helping you get there, and then you have to take more of that and add on to what the college coach is asking you to do. And we all know the transition from high school to college can be very rough,
Yes.
especially depending on what type of coaching you've received in the past. So um, some coaches are really, really tough, and you won't know that until you get there. And some coaches um, have a different way of doing things, but the conditioning and the mental preparation for college is tough. And the earlier you can start trying to train your mind to do all that, the better. There's a saying, sit around the table with people you want to be like, or in that position you want to be in. I knew that I wanted to be a Division I athlete. I started hanging around people that had the mentality to become Division I athletes. That
Mm,
doesn't mean you have to leave all your friends behind, but that means when it's time to go to the gym instead of the movies, you have to go to the gym.
very true. And a lot of what you said, there's parallels in other things as well. You know, I mean, the transition from high school to college, it's rough
Hmm.
athletically, but it's also rough on some people academically as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are things you have to build and prepare for in advance so that you're ready when the expectation goes from here to here, that you're ready for that change in expectation.
Hmm.
And the professors are not generally the professors are not handholders when you go to college. It's your
Hmm.
responsibility to make sure you do what you're supposed to do. Nowadays, when you're K through 12, there's a lot of, you know, tolerance for excuses and turning in assignments late. And, you know, that's not necessarily preparing kids for the real world, for college or the real world.
Hmm.
So, I'm a little, I've seen that with my kids, and my son has benefited from that because he sometimes lacks the discipline he needs. And so a teacher will take an assignment late from him, but I make it clear to him that it's not going to stay that way, and it's not
Hmm.
acceptable to us.
Hmm.
Whether she takes it or not, we want you to
Hmm.
turn it in on time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's important. Just having that social support from people that, even though you might not want to hear it, or it might hurt your feelings a little bit or whatever, just having people tell you the truth, because yeah, the real world is different. And if you live in a bubble and only do things this way, or can turn in assignments late, don't have to go running because nobody told you to go running. If you don't have that, if you don't build that self discipline early, and that internal motivation, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because when that deadline hits and you go, "Oh, can I have a couple more minutes?" Like, no, no, you can't. This is the deadline. If you can't get your job done, then we will find somebody else.